Well, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining AI-powered email automation, excuse me, that drives profit. I'm honored today to have a good friend of mine, Stefan, who is the CEO of Ecommerce Today, join us to talk about this email automation. And what's interesting about this, well, Stefan and we've known each other, what, 3-4 years now, something like that. Yeah.
Pretty
And
much.
yeah, and in that time frame, because we do different things, right? Stefan's company has helped us with our email marketing. We've helped him with his website optimization. We've referred clients back and forth, and we've had this great relationship. And we were both speaking in Lisbon this year at Digital Marketing Europe, and we were talking about AI because obviously everybody is talking about AI, and this is obviously the outcome of that conversation, because we're going to talk about AI and email automation. But you know, it's not the magic wand that people think it is. And so we were going back and forth about how do we really share what works, what people should be doing. And in fairness, Stefan put together this amazing presentation where we're going to walk you through, where he's going to walk you through, in fairness, all right, because we're a lot about email. He's going to walk you through what you should be doing and what you should be considering, all right? Along those lines, here's some of the issues that we're going to talk about today. Okay, we all know this. Your cost per acquisition is rising, right? Your organic traffic is going down, so that's why there's more people advertising. So people are losing traffic because of AI and the chatbots, or LLMs and so on. So they're spending more money, but when you advertise, you're paying for something, and Stefan's point is like it's renting, right? Because it doesn't exist. Once they see the ad, then it's gone, right? And then you have to rent again, right? And so the end of the day here, especially in e-commerce, and this is Stefan's point here, retention wins, loyalty, customers to come back and buy the second time, the third time, and so on. All right. That's where a lot of the money is. And how do you get to those people over and over and over again? And here's the good news. Stefan's going to tell you how. Right, buddy?
I'll definitely try. I'll share the formula that we have been implementing for the last, I think, 12 years now, 6 years officially as an agency. And it's the formula that works for the formula that we start with our clients, whether they're like a small mom and pop store or a larger enterprise client. The flows that we set up in the beginning, the automation structure is the same with each and every one of them. And to your point, yeah, exactly before we went live, we were talking about agentic AI, AI, AI. I think I've heard the word, and I've personally said the word AI at least a few thousand times this year. But to everyone looking at this webinar right now live or at the recording, AI is not a magic wand, like you said from the very beginning, but we are using it and we have to use it because it is great if we use it correctly. So we're going to walk through the structure of automation flows, and I'm super happy that we're doing this webinar together with Marty, who's a CRO wizard. And when we were going over the slides, we were like, hey, but hold on a second. This is not best practice for CRO. Okay, this is best practice for email. How do we find the middle ground? And how do we find out like what people should optimize for? And this is actually, I think, one of the most valuable presentations of these flows I'm able to put together because of your input here. So we're going to talk about that as well. But to jump straight into it. So email. There's a lot of misconception out there that email is outdated or, why should we do email? We need to focus on TikTok ads and so on and so forth. The fact of the matter is, everybody can just simply go on Google right now and type ROAS or ROI for Google Ads. You're going to see between 4-1 and 12-1. ROI on Meta ads, ROI on TikTok ads. And you're always going to see 1, 2, 4, up to as much as 1 to 20, but that's based on Meta's attribution, and we all know that's a bit sketchy. But if you do what's the ROI on email marketing, Google AI Overviews is going to tell you it's 1 to 32, up to as much as 1 to 40 or 44 in some cases. Everyone can try this on Google right now. Just type the words and see what you get. And we we do our numbers as well, because we have like close to 100 clients that we are reviewing every single year. We're reviewing the results for. And last year, the email revenue that they generated was $44 million. And for those $44 million in email revenue, we calculated how much they paid the platforms, and we calculated how much they paid us as an agency for the email marketing management services. And the ROI for that was around 1 to 70. And just by saying 1 to 70 and counting that, that's definitely worthwhile. It's still extremely profitable. It's the most profitable marketing channel that you can actually employ and you can actually pay for in now today. Not only that, but email can be the foundation for this agentic e-commerce. The email platform itself is going to be the channel that sees your website visitors, understands your customers' activity, orders, and what they're buying, what their preferences are, what products they're looking at. You're able to communicate with them via email. You're able to communicate with them via SMS, push notifications. In Europe, in Asia, WhatsApp is also something really good that you want to use. And then you have all of those other add-ons that build the customer experience, like loyalty program, user-generated content, component, and so much more. So it's becoming, from our point of view, critical to have email automation implemented properly on not just e-commerce store, but stores that websites that sell services as well, where you have some sort of conversion that needs to occur. So
Let me add one thing, if I may.
yep, of course.
One of the first things we do when we work with a client is we look in their analytics, and I will tell you that when they have everything optimized, email tends to have the highest conversion rate of all of the things, followed by paid if you're doing it right. And so when we look at it, if the email conversion rate is not their highest, that raises a red flag. Like, what are you doing wrong here? Because you've already got loyal customers, and you've sold to them. They trust you. They know you. If that's not your highest converting, something's wrong, actually. And oh well, in fairness, the other thing that happens is we look and they don't even have email, and that's a different problem, right? So just thought I'd throw that in there.
And that couldn't be um, truer. And we're actually going to go through. That's the best scenario, honestly, that we possibly get. And since you mentioned that, I'm gonna just quickly go and show something.
You're gonna cheat, huh? Okay.
I'm gonna go to that one because it does make a lot of sense, and I want this conversation to be as fluid as possible. So one of the very first things that we also see when we get a new client and their email numbers don't look like they should, is for us like a really good. It's a blessing in disguise, so to say, because it's the simplest thing you can do to a business that's going to show immediate results. And typically, of course, a lot of companies don't have email automation flows implemented, or they have just a welcome flow and a cart abandonment, and that's it. That takes a bit more time to build up. But 1 in 5 companies don't have the foundation in place. And this is something that they can fix so quickly. Anybody watching this, anybody looking at the recording, just go to like Google Postmaster, which is Google's webmaster for email, where you can see what Gmail thinks about you and the emails that you're sending. You're able to see if people are unsubscribing, if you're being reported as abuse. You're able to see over there if you're checking at the absolute box, all the absolute boxes that you can possibly check for SPF, DKIM, DMARC, if you have the MX records set up correctly. These are all technical terms that you don't even need to understand because we do have AI today. And if you go to Google Postmaster and you see anything in there that has like an exclamation sign, a warning, or it doesn't have to be critical, you can just copy that into your AI assistant and ask it for instructions. What do I need to do to fix it? And this is one tool. Another tool is MX Toolbox, mxtoolbox.com, where you can just enter your domain. And again, it's going to run a free audit. It's going to tell you what you need to fix, and you put that into your AI assistant, and it tells you step by step what you need to do. And it's typically just copy paste work in the DNS. Just copy paste some records, and you're fixing the foundation. Fixing the foundation is the difference between sending 100,000 emails and 99.9% of those landing in a spam folder and sending 100,000 emails and a large majority of those emails landing in an inbox, or if your reputation is low, promotional emails folder, but at least it's not spam. So you're starting to deliver to people. So that's it's good to see that you're definitely on the same page with us. That's like the first thing we look at as well. When we see email is we're like, okay, we've got something here. Cool. All right. So we kind of went through this. So the cost per acquisition for clients has been increasing, and I think you've seen that as well. After COVID, that's when things really, went from expensive to abnormally expensive, and they never went back down. So the cost for acquisition, especially for the first order on a client, typically means a lot of businesses don't even make money on that first order. If it's like super cheap items like t-shirts and apparel and stuff like that, most of the times you're not making money on that order. So you really need to do everything you can. Number one, to capture all that paid traffic. When you're paying for traffic, you need to make sure that you're capturing an email address that's value in on its own, and then that you're trying to recover any abandoned sessions, and then that you're trying to get the second purchase out of that customer without having to pay Google or Meta or TikTok again for that order. And we're going to cover like all of these steps today, both pre-purchase and post-purchase, for on how to do that with email. So, what will we learn? Learn is a big word that scares me nowadays because we have to learn so many new things. But I think that what we're gonna go over today, and hopefully people will just use it as a, they don't even need to learn it, they just need to use it and implement it on their businesses. So we're gonna go over the retention strategies. We're gonna go over the abandonment strategies. We're gonna go over how to pick a service, an email marketing service provider, and how we as an agency use AI, employ AI at every single level. Like we went through the technical foundation just minutes ago, and I explained that you can very well, if you don't know, if you're not technical, you don't need to be technical. You can just use services, audit your system, get the technical problems out of the way, and then just take it, send it to your hosting company, and they will fix it for you. It's those types of useful use cases. So is there a magic wand? The answer is definitely no, unfortunately. Well, our experience with AI that's used well, so within our assistants and agents, where we have like context for our agency, our assistants understand who we are as an agency, understands our DNA, our core values. Every agent, every assistant has in their documentation information about our company and our voice, basically, because we're all different. That's what makes life beautiful. And then they have context on each client. Each project has a client success assistant, basically. Even in that case, when we have context, we understand the client's numbers. The AI understands the client's numbers, our persona, their persona. If you only use it, if you put in crap prompts, basically, you get the same response back. If you don't even have that context in place, then you're definitely not going to get anything out of AI. And a very simple test anyone can do. You just go into your favorite AI assistant and type, my business is X and I want to implement email automation. I want to implement email automation, or I want to do email automation flows for my business to get more sales. I have this slide when I speak at conferences about make me money, yes, yes, more, more. And that's the prompt. And that always throws a chuckle. But to that prompt, which is more articulated, the vast majority of the responses that AIs are going to give back is going to be, that sounds fantastic. We're going to work together to build some profitable flows for you. But when you cut through the entire message, it's basically going to tell you to build a welcome structure, a cart abandonment structure, and post-purchase win-back and sunset flows. When in fact, you have to build at least 5 different type of abandonment structures. You have to segment your post-purchase to new customer, returning customer, VIP customer, and so on and so forth. So the only way you're going to be able to get this out of the AI is if you, at least at a structural level, understand what you need to ask it for. And that's what we are going to be discussing today. So garbage in, garbage out. AI needs clean and structured data. And I think in conversion rate optimization, that's that makes even more sense.
Well, I'm just going to jump in with one thing because you and I have talked about this. All right, even when you build in your own knowledge base, whether it's for email automation or for conversion rate optimization, it doesn't matter. You build in these agents, and we've done it. You've done it, and you get what appears to be a lot of times really good results in there. But here's the thing: there's no intelligence in AI. Okay. AIs are pattern matching, and all they're doing is doing predictive work. And so they have knowledge based on the knowledge base. But the difference is people have perspective. And so what you were talking about, even though we didn't use those words, is when you're using the AI, having the person have their perspective to manage, wrangle in that AI is how AI makes people more effective. But if you just let it be autonomous on its own, oh my God, what you might wind up with, it's not there. It's not intelligent. It's a pattern matching system. It requires human perspective. And that's that. And you were saying that. I just wanted to just use that word. Okay. Perspective matters. And only people have that.
And that's why I was saying that I'm happy that there's no magic wand yet, because if there were at today's standards, everything would look the same. And that would be a dull black and white world, unfortunately, for everyone to live in. So, AI hype versus reality. The hype, we just went through it. AI does everything, you get instant results, and there's magic solutions. No, no, and definitely no. The reality, AI needs structure. Absolutely. AI is gives data-driven results. Absolutely. And it requires human oversight. So human in the loop. That's what we will be like the everything that we're gonna go through today in terms of flows and how we use AI and A/B testing and campaign planning and so on. It's all of it has human oversight on top of it. So if there's anyone here on the webinar looking for like magic wands or a special prompt that we're gonna give and it's gonna work without human, you're gonna be able to go to sleep and that's it. I'm sorry for the disappointment. That's not gonna happen. But we are gonna give you some ideas on how you can use AI, how we use AI that can give you superpowers. At least that's how we look at it. So the just foundation stuff, the 5 layers of an effective AI prompt. Number one, the role. Of course, you have to give a role to an AI assistant before you give the actual prompt itself. The context, it has to understand your business, it has to understand what you're trying to accomplish. The raw data, and this is where we typically like we feed it A/B tests from the past or campaign results from the past. It's up to you what you're trying to accomplish. The constraints, which ideally you don't need to paste them in because you're using an assistant that should ideally, or a project in Claude that already has like this information. And the format, how you want the information to be regurgitated is not a good word.
No.
Given back to you. Uh, I just wanted to make sure I go through these. I know hopefully a lot of people and people out there know these already, but it never hurts to just go through these 5 layers every single time. There's always someone who's like taking a picture, and I'm like, okay, that's one step further for professionals. We another foundational step is the one we discussed earlier, which is the simplest thing anyone can do. There's just one thing I want to add here on Google Postmaster. Um, a lot of like the vast majority of email addresses our clients at least have in their subscribers databases are Gmail addresses. So we use Google Postmaster as a measure of health for the entire database of emails basically. So one thing that I would recommend to companies out there is to have like a monthly recurring task to just click on a bookmarked link in their Google Postmaster account and have a look at it. If there's anything screaming back at them, fix it. If not, and you just spend 10 seconds of your time looking at that page and everything is green, great job. But if you do catch something like a warning or a spike in spam reports or a spike in unsubscribes, that's going to save you so much money down the line because you caught it early and you're able to take action. You're able to find out that new intern that got hired and nobody trained and he's just, sending stuff out there and you're destroying your reputation. You can find out about this just by doing this one simple 10-15 seconds check. Google Postmaster setup and then bookmarked and then Google Calendar or whatever calendar you use once a month, click on one link. That's it. So Google Postmaster and MX Toolbox. These are the two tools that we recommend for the foundation. Um, one more. Should I go through the sunset flow right now? I'm gonna go through the sunset flow a bit later down the line, but I want to touch upon subdomains and domain authentication because this is also another easy win for anyone watching this. Uh, just have a look at one of the newsletters that you've recently sent in your own inbox. If the sender has at your email address at yourdomain.com, then your email is authenticated, and that's good. You don't need to do anything. But if it does say your email via something, for Klaviyo, it's Kmail. For Brevo, it's BRM mail or something like that. Then you're using a shared sending domain. And that's the default. Whenever you create an account with an email marketing service provider like Klaviyo, Omni, Send, Brevo, and you name it, there's a lot of services out there. By default, you're going to use a shared email sender. And the problem with shared email senders is the word shared. You're also sharing your reputation with everybody else using that you're in the pool with. So you can be as white hat as you possibly want and can, but if there's any like black sheep within the same pool with you, then you're gonna suffer as well. And you're 100% gonna suffer during Q4 when people and companies start to spam, and that's going to affect your reputation. It's going to affect your deliverability. So just go into your email marketing service domain settings and make sure that your domain is authenticated. You do not need to be a server admin. You just need to follow the steps. It's going to be next, next, copy and paste this in that field, next, next, save. Uh, It's a simple thing to do, but it gives you ownership over your email sender. And um, w- what's reputation? Let's talk about reputation a little bit. The sender reputation. Whenever you send out an email and that email gets opened, or more importantly, gets clicked, that action, those actions tell the inbox provider, like Gmail, for example, that you are a safe sender. So when people open emails, but more importantly, when they click on emails, that tells the inbox providers, Verizon, Gmail, Hotmail, Apple Mail, and so on, that you're a safe sender. So when you send out 100,000 emails, but only 1% actually open your email, that tells the inbox provider that you're spamming. So the sunset flow is an automation you can typically set up in any email marketing service provider out there, and just do like a simple checkup. It, of course, depends on seasonality of businesses, but if you just build one segment, and that segment is, I want to see all of the subscribers that have received at least 10 emails in the last 6 months, but have opened 0 emails in the last 6 months. If that number is going to be, that number for sure is going to be, unfortunately, if you've never done this before, 20% of your subscribers database, if I were to just be lenient. Uh, we had a client, Marty, and they had like 250,000 subscribers when they reached out to us and when we started working with them. And when we were going through the cleanup, we told them that they need to burn more than 60% of their subscribers database. The owner was absolutely furious. You're like, why did I hire you guys? That's, like 100, and I think it was like close to 150,000 emails that we told them that we cannot use these. And eventually I explained that we're not, unsubscribing or suppressing them. They're still going to be there. We're just not going to email to them, and give us this chance because, you hired us, and so on. Eventually he was okay with that. And it wasn't even 2 months later that with less than half of the subscribers, he was making more revenue and everything was going up because inbox providers were trusting us. We're no longer spamming people. The open rate went through the roof, the click through rate increased, and then we started bringing back those 160,000 people, 150, 160,000 people, but in slow batches. And we were able to re-engage some of them as well. Like, I think, if I remember correctly, 10 to 20,000 subscribers. And the rest we actually removed, and we were able to like decrease their invoice with the service provider because you're paying for all those subscribers. So have a sunset flow. This just automates everything that I just said earlier. You have to do it once manually, like what I explained right now. But after that, it's just an automated flow that you can build again in almost any email marketing service provider out there. Uh, okay, so that's foundation stuff. That's things that you need to have in place. On top of them, you need to have an email marketing service provider, a tool that you're going to be able to use to log into and create newsletters, create pop-ups, create landing pages for capturing email addresses, create automation flows. How do you pick an email service provider? Well, you can ask your AI agent. They're going to be really good at doing that, but you have to tell them in the context the platform your website is built on. Because the most important aspect about an email marketing service provider is how well is it integrated with, it can integrate with your website. Ideally, if you're on Shopify or WordPress or Magento, WooCommerce, Wix, Wix not so much, but if you're on like those, which and make up like 80% of all e-commerce stores out there, you're gonna have your pick. You're gonna be able to pick your Klaviyo's, your Omnisense, your Brevos, your like these bigger services. They integrate great, and they're able to track all of the visitor activity on your website and your customer activity. When you're able to track, you're able to trigger actions, view the product, view the page, added to cart, initiated checkout, placed order. These are all like actions that an email service provider needs to be able to see, because if it sees, you can create automations searched for X keyword and so on. So the email marketing service provider is also important. You should use a CRM for services. You should use an ESP, an email marketing service provider for e-commerce, because you need to be able to view products and differentiate products and understand brands and so on. Um, so generic pop-ups. You have the foundation now, even with the email marketing service provider. And then in order to send emails, you have to have email addresses. One big misconception is that you need a huge database or a big database of subscribers to do email automation. But the fact of the matter is, when you start email automation, you don't actually need any subscribers, because the first step of email automation is to capture subscribers, and email automation lives on traffic. Traffic triggers actions like viewed product, viewed page, added to cart, etc., placed order. And then those actions are the ones that send the actual emails. So, how do you capture email addresses? Well, everybody knows the standard ones: placed order, subscribe to newsletter, uh, embed in the footer, subscribe to our newsletter, create account, subscribe to our newsletter. But the most, by far, productive way of capturing email addresses is through pop-ups. And there's two things that Marty and I were just talking before the actual webinar, like 2 weeks ago. And we're like, hold on a second. So you've got these pop-ups. They have like good effort, good impact for capturing email, but they can actually hurt the overall conversion rate of the actual website. And that's when we were like, okay, we've got something here. We've got something really good. So um, on an email perspective, and I think this is actually going to be on a CRO perspective as well. If you show a pop-up and you don't give anything in returns for stealing the attention, basically, that's a big no-no. At least for email, you're not going to be able to capture any sort of email addresses, like the rate at which you're going to be able to get submissions is exponentially lower. So if you show a pop-up, you do have to give something in return, and it doesn't have to be 10% off, 20% off, free shipping. It can very well be a consulting call. Give us your email address, and we will have one of our in-store specialists or senior consultants reach out to you and help you with your shopping experience. Even that can be something in return. And the second thing about pop-ups is you should not use generic pop-ups. Of course, you should not have pop-ups that appear on the website the minute the page loads. That's the biggest no-no for the Google page experience as well, but email as well and CRO. The pop-up should appear at a time when it makes sense for the shopping experience. And it should differ from page to page. On the homepage, you're going to have a different experience. People go to the homepage to see what's your latest offers. They go to the homepage to find out more about who you are, if they're a new visitor and they're new to your brand. And from an email perspective, you're safer to show that pop-up based on a scroll, for example. When you're on the product page, it depends on the product itself. From an email capture perspective, what you're going to be looking at is, did I just spend $20,000 on a photo shooting and I have wonderful product imagery? Then I do not want to show any pop-ups and break the visitor's experience when they're looking and absorbing those beautiful images. Do I have a highly technical product that has a lot of specifications? And I know that my customers are gonna, read those because they want to make sure they match, they have the right MPN. Then you do not want to show the pop-up once they've scrolled 30% on desktop and they're at that section, or 60 or 70% on mobile and they've reached the specifications. Maybe you want to add a delay. Maybe you want to show it after 70% on mobile and so on. So That's why pop-ups do need to be contextual, and they do need to match the experience of the actual page itself. And on the website conversion side of things, Marty, I've seen your last speech in Lisbon about this, and I absolutely loved it, and the perspective and the information on the pop-ups.
So it's interesting. So Stefan and I went back and forth on this a little bit. So um, I will tell you from a conversion rate optimization perspective, having an entry pop, even if it's timed, lowers the conversion rate of the site itself. So really, what does that mean? If you think about it, um, and this is what we tell people, we've tested this over and over and over again. If you come to me and you say, listen, we have an entry pop and that increased our revenue by X or Y, what that tells me is that your underlying website is not optimized at all because you've got a band-aid on it to make the site better. So entry pops from a conversion standpoint are a no-no. Having said that, okay, if the goal is more email subscribers, then you've changed what you're trying to do. So the real question you have to ask yourself is, am I trying to build my list? And if so, that's the most important thing. Then having the pop-up the way Stefan talked about it makes sense. However, if the other side of that is you are trying to have the site actually convert higher, then any kind of entry pop, even if it's timed to 5 to 10 seconds, is a major no-no. And here's kind of the why. When somebody comes to you brand new and they don't know you, you haven't earned their trust, it's almost like you're yelling at them. So I'll exaggerate. It's like they come to your website and going, hi! Don't do that, okay? That's bad for conversions later on. So figure out what you're trying to accomplish. And then if it's email subscribers, do it the way Stefan said. If you're trying to do conversions, then have the pop-ups on other pages, make them contextual. Oh, and to his point, always add value in a pop-up. If you're not adding value, it's like email, it's like spam. You're spamming on your own site. Don't do that, okay? Anyway, so that was my aside there, because I took great exception when we first started talking about that.
Yeah, that was really nice. And even more so with like Shopify. Shopify now has a native A/B split testing functionality. Just test it out on the website itself. So, but if you don't have this perspective about what's my overall goal. It's my overall goal increasing, creating my subscribers database because I'm going into Q4 and I want to add as many as possible. Or am I a very well established business? I have a subscribers database. People are, I'm identifying the traffic going to my website based on cookies, based on their visit 8 months ago. Then I don't need the pop-ups anymore because I have a flow at traffic of email already. So yeah, this was good. uh and every website is different, so there's definitely no universal pop-ups. There shouldn't be a universal abandonment structure or automation strategy. Even like for our clients, even if we have like two clients selling exactly the same thing, exactly in the same country, they're going to have, because they have different branding, they have a different following, they have a different customer persona. So we're not able to use the same structure and just clone it and use it there. So personalize based on the actual platform. And for what you're offering, you have to offer something. You don't just steal people's attention. You don't like it. I don't like it. Nobody likes it. So if I do see a pop up, but it does give me value, then I'm okay with it. But if it doesn't give me value, and how do I find out what's the best value for my clients? Do I just assume they want cheaper? I shouldn't assume that, because oftentimes the business owners don't really know their clients as well as they do. They're trying to market for themselves, and that's then never the right thing to do. Always A/B split test.
I love when clients say to things like, well, Amazon does it that way, or Apple does it that way. It's like, well, you're not Apple, you're not Amazon. No, you got to test your own. Your users are different, they have a different intent. Yeah, no, just no.
Correct. Uh, you're actually trying to not be Amazon. You're trying to win because you're not Amazon. True. Cool. So we have the foundation. We're capturing email addresses, or we already have a database of email addresses. What do we do with those email addresses? The very first step is the actual welcome flow itself. And what we as a agency build for the first for the client, for our clients, regardless, again, everything I'm telling right now, again, disclaimer is it works for small mom and pop companies, solopreneurs, small businesses, but it's exactly the same structure we implement for enterprise level clients in the beginning. Of course, it then grows, but in the beginning, the welcome flow for us has 3 emails. The very first email is a reminder, the incentive that we are offering, what we're offering for the actual subscription. And then we're trying to build a relationship. If it's a smaller brand, we try to humanize the relationship. We show a picture from the warehouse. We talk about the founder, anything that can actually make a difference between a small business that's celebrated on Small Business Saturday versus a giant like Amazon. People are always going to relate to a smaller business and they will prefer it versus a bigger giant, even if it's more comfortable to buy off of a bigger giant. I think it's a sort of sense of commitment to the community and trying to do your best in that direction. Emails 2 and 3, they typically go out. Email number 2 is a reminder of the incentive that we have, and we start showing like best products, hottest products, and hottest categories. And email number 3, typically we start to give more time. It's plus 3 days typically, and that's an email that we like do FOMO. We try to put a little bit of pressure that the discount is going to expire. So in these emails, especially if you're a smaller brand, we try to, especially if it's a smaller brand, we try to include items like social proofing. So testimonials from client that we are able to copy paste from like Facebook or whatnot, and just show something there to show that there are other people buying from the company itself. And one small parenthesis here, if your business has a retail store, even that in on its own is a confidence booster, because there's a lot of case studies out there about consumer confidence in brands they do not know and how that has gone down after COVID when a lot of e-commerce businesses appeared overnight and they didn't have any stock or support or anything like that. Everything was drop shipped. So if you are an established business, just the fact that you've been in business for 10 years or 20 years should be there next to your logo, basically, in the email, and that's going to give confidence to people to buy from you. Uh, the um, the traps for the discount, don't assume 20% off is going to be it. Use it in the beginning when you set up the flow because it's the cleanest type of incentive you can do, a percentage discount or a fixed amount discount for the new order or free shipping. But as soon as you have some sort of data, open rates, click rates, as soon as you have a benchmark, A/B split test it right away and try to give value in another way versus just money off. Pushy sales and generic content. This is from business to business, but most of the times, if you're pushy in the first email you send out, you're going to have to be pushy with all of the other emails because the people responding back are going to be the ones that need this type of communication. So, how you talk to people in an email is how you're going to talk to people every time in an email because you're going to keep only those people. So, it's important, the communication itself. That's the welcome flow. Um, Now, the welcome flow, I don't have the number in front of me right now, but we actually checked this as well. About 70% of the $44 million that was generated in email alone for our clients last year. About 70% was from automation. From the automation flows, the most performing email, the top performing email was the welcome flow, and then it was abandoned checkout, abandoned cart, abandoned browse, no, new customer, abandoned browse, and then all of the other ones. Like they had like 1% or 2% or 3% and stuff like that. So welcome flow, super important, get it right, implement it. Abandonment is where companies typically tend to, like, in all my experience, and I've implemented myself and through my agency email automation on at least 400 companies so far. I have not found one company, one, that had all 5 abandonment structures implemented. At most, there was browse abandon, cart abandon, and checkout abandon, the 3. But the vast majority of companies out there, and this is an easy win for anyone watching this, because when you implement these, it means you're ahead of your competition. Most companies, they even confuse cart abandon and checkout abandon. So they either ignore the cart abandon section entirely, which is like the third top performing flow, because they only actually have checkout abandon. Even like bigger email marketing service providers still mislabel that and they call it cart abandon, but it's actually triggered only on the checkout. So what are these flows? Site abandon um, is triggered when a visitor goes to your website, goes to your homepage, goes to a landing page or a static page or a category page, but before looking at an actual product, they abandon your site. What this is, as you can possibly imagine, one of the lowest performing flows out there because not a lot of people do this. But we actually looked at the analytics at the funnel, and most of the traffic that feeds the site abandon is traffic from the browse from the sorry, if you don't know what this is an alert for bears.
For bears.
For bears, exactly. And another
Well,
one.
so Stefan actually lives in the mountains. In fairness, okay, so bears is not that bizarre. Well, it's a little bizarre, but I'm in Tampa. We don't have bears.
But here in Transylvania, we definitely do. Okay, so where was I? Site abandoned. Brand protection campaign. Okay, that's why I lost it. So most of the traffic in the site abandonment flow is traffic from brand protection campaigns, and it's basically campaigns that people set up. You know, with their brand keyword. When people search for that brand, they go to the homepage or to a landing page that you build out, and life gets in the way. Basically, it's either a customer that we already know, we have the cookie, we're able to identify them, or we actually have a really great pop-up and it appeared sooner and our target was to capture email addresses, and you know, life got in the way. I had to take my kids to school, my lunch break was over, and I abandoned. The thing is, if you don't actually re-engage them, then at site abandon level, you're not going to be able to get that customer back. So a site abandon is just one email in which we show the actual best performing products or categories on that actual website and a little bit of information about the brand. Browse abandon is when things start to get interesting because the intent is higher. They looked at a product, at least one product, but before adding to cart, they abandoned the actual shopping session. So what do? We sent 2 emails this time. Both of them feature the product the visitor was looking at to remind them. And email number 1 shows them top products. Email number 2 shows them top categories because we want to re-engage them. We want to be sure that we're able to show them something else that other people looking at that product are buying. And this is just this is called browse abandonment or product abandonment. Before adding to cart, there's another type of abandonment called search abandonment. Even us, we didn't have this as a mandatory foundational abandonment flow. but we did add it now, so it's foundational for every single client from T0. This is when people search on your website, so the intent is super high, but they don't actually find anything. So they get the no search results found page. And for people doing that, we are sending out an email and showing again top products, top categories. There's more to search abandon because there's a lot of strategies you can actually implement with converting people that are searching for specific keywords, but we will go into that a bit in more detail later on. Cart abandon is when people add something to their shopping cart but do not reach checkout. Checkout abandon is when people go to checkout but they don't click the place order button. These two are very similar. So both of them have 3 emails. Checkout abandon has an incentive that we recommend to our clients, not in email 1, but emails 2 and 3. They incentivize the checkout once per customer lifetime. We recommend it because it's too expensive not to. If it's their first purchase, we really want to get them over the into becoming a customer. But one thing that's super interesting here is sending times for cart abandonment. Email number 1 goes out like 2 hours after the abandonment session. Abandonment has happened, but email number 2, and this is an easy win for anyone watching this, should never be plus 1 day. Because plus 1 day, typically what it does is it sends out the second email at the exact time of the day when the abandonment session has happened in the previous day, which can very well be I had to take my kid to school, my lunch break was over, I fall asleep at that time, and so on. So what we normally do for email number 2 is plus 22 hours or 21 hours from the abandonment timestamp. And email number 3 plus 1 day versus email number 2, or I think it's plus 2 days. Anyway, around that. But there's very few things you can actually be 100% sure about. But by doing this, by not sending plus 1 day on the abandonment emails, there is one thing that you are able to counter, which is counter the time of day abandonment reason. Why people abandon carts? They use them as wish lists. They use those cards for saving items and then going to Amazon and finding out if they can buy it cheaper. But time of day is something that you can actually impact really well. Uh, this is the abandonment. Uh, for every single one of these flows, but especially for product abandonment, there's segmentation that needs to be done. Wow, time flew so fast. So I'm gonna try to breeze through these, but we're gonna send over the slides as well to anyone participating and to the people who enrolled. So browse abandonment. Think about using email as a way to find out your customer personas. And I'll give a very simple example. If you're a business that sells shoes and 80% of your business is Nike, then the very first thing you need to do in your browse abandonment is have a conditional logic, drag and drop, simple with any email marketing service provider, and have that condition: is user Nike fan? Or does user have the Nike tag or anything like that? It depends from system to system. If yes, then the browse abandonment email that they get is not going to be the standard one. We're going to use Nike colors. We're going to show a story in the very top section about the Nike founder. We're going to show only the latest and the greatest from Nike, the newest arrivals and the sale items from Nike. So we're going to personalize those emails for that specific customer. And if no, then we're going to fall back to the default ones that we've built. And you can do this for brand affinities, for category affinities, for people buying for women or for men or for girls or for boys. You can do it for based on the spend of the customer. If the customer is a high net income, if they have the VIP customer, let's call it, then you don't want to give them discounts. You want to give them concierge. You want to give them access to your support. You want to give them extended warranty or easy warranty returns and so on and so forth. So super simple, and it should always be done properly.
So you're saying just do it.
Yeah, exactly. on the Nike. Uh, Another interesting split is on the cart abandonment and checkout abandonment. So for first cart, for new buyers, it's going to be a trust issue. So you're going to have to use a lot of like who we are, our stores, our customers, testimonials, talk to us, here's reviews, and so on. But for returning customers, it's typically not a trust issue because they've already placed an order with you. So they know you're going to get the item sent over to them. But you want to give them concierge. You want to give them reminders. You want to give them a helping hand and give them that, extra level of support that they really want and need. On the search results, coming back, another idea is not just for the no results automation. One idea would be to have a look at what people are searching on your website. And if you see one of those top keywords, a brand keyword, a brand that you don't carry, then that very well can be a abandoned search email that goes out when people search for brand X. You don't carry Adidas, let's say. And when people search for Adidas on your website, you can send over an email and say, we don't carry Adidas, but we carry Nike because. And that can give you conversions. That's an idea, but there's so many others that can actually happen. The real profit starts with second order. Super important. And I think that's going to be the last thing I'm going to be able to say before we complete and the session stops. So the new customer flow is super important. We do 4 emails. Email number 1 goes out 1 hour after the order has been placed, and it's a story about the brand. We ask our clients for like embarrassing, funny, interesting stories that can make their business human and small and relatable. And we honestly thank them for their first order. Thank the new customers. Email number 2 goes out the second day or the third day, depending on how long it takes to ship the items. And we answer to frequently asked questions, warranty, extra, how do we like packaging, how do we assemble, and so on and so forth. Any sort of questions that the company has on their FAQ or we get from their customer support team, we add them there and we train that new customer to understand that when they get an email from us, that email contains helpful information. And this is right down our ballpark because when we send email number 3 and 4, we're asking for the second order. We're giving them an incentive this time for their second order because whatever incentive we're going to give, it's going to be cheaper than having to pay for that customer to come back to us through a remarketing campaign. And the other thing is, especially if it's a new customer that came through social ads, and social ads traffic typically lands on the product page directly. They see the product. If it's a low cost item, they just buy it and they move. They don't have time to discover the catalog. But this time, we're giving them a reason to find something else to buy, giving them this incentive for the second order. So they have time to learn more about the brand and discover more about the brand itself. So 4 emails over the course of like 4 weeks. And the real target here is to generate the second purchase. There's a couple more things here that I don't think we're going to be able to cover. But again, anyone watching this and people that subscribed and enrolled, you're going to get the flows anyway, the deck anyway. And you're also going to get like a master prompt that you can just feed into your AI assistant, and it's going to give you a good starting point for you to actually be able to get started on building your AI structure. Yeah, AI optimized email automation structure. Wow, I had a lot more. How did time fly by so fast?
Well, probably because I kept interrupting, so I'm sorry about that.
That was super useful, actually. But the conversation that we had before, like, very useful. It did bring us value.
But if anyone, we have time for a question or two. If people have questions, they can put them in the comments.
Let's see. Do you have any questions?
Do I have questions? I will tell you, aside from questions, I actually walked away. Again, we're not an email marketing company, right? We're a CRO.
Yeah.
So, but I walked away with a bunch of, started making notes on things that we need to be doing. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can apply that. Oh, I can do that. I can do that. And so I actually have a bunch of action items to take away. So thank you for giving me more work to do.
You're definitely welcome. But it gives me such great joy when I go to a talk or I go to a speech or I go to a panel and I'm able to get out of it with at least one actionable thing that I can implement. I'm always super happy. So happy you have those things on your list.
Absolutely. Well, in fairness, I say you gave me work to do. Biani, who you know, who's our marketing manager, we actually gave her work to do, but that's a different discussion. So, anyway, all
Sounds
right.
good.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. If you would like help in your email marketing, you definitely need to reach out to Stefan. You're going to get an email with their contact information. If you'd like help with conversion rate optimization, reach out to us, and all of that will be in this along with the recording. We thank you for your time today, and hopefully you found it as interesting. I was mostly listening, so hopefully you found it as interesting as I did. Stefan, thank you very much. I do appreciate it, buddy. All
Thank you
right.
for having me, Marty.
And
Thanks.
watch out for the bears, okay?
Will do.
Okay. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.